morning, everyone. Good morning, Peekskill. Thank you all so much for being with us here, for the participants for jumping on this call, and for folks who are watching live on Facebook. Thank you for tuning in. If you are watching live, please do us a huge favor, share this video on your timeline, in group pages that you're a part of. We want to make sure that the information that is being disseminated here is spread as far and wide as possible, so as many of our community members can hear about the opportunities and really be clued in on what our different agencies and organizations are working on. So my name is Vanessa Gudello, and I'm one of your Peekskill City Council members, and I'm very excited to welcome you to another week of our Peekskill Community COVID-19 Updates call. The purpose of these calls is to create a space for community leaders to convene in a COVID-safe way, with the intention of helping members of the public to understand and support efforts to respond to the coronavirus crisis by providing weekly updates with key agencies, including ways in which we can all pitch in and lessen each other's burden. These calls happen on a weekly basis every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. We live stream these calls, as you can see, on our City of Peekskill Facebook page, and these calls are also recorded so that we can publish it later on our City of Peekskill webpage, as well as broadcast it on our government channel, and you can tune into that throughout the week. Every week, we will be rotating stakeholders to give the public the ability to hear from a variety of agencies, as well as from different departments here at City Hall. But today we will be hearing from Reverend Phillips and Ben Bolton from HRH Care, Maria Pereira, who is the president of the Peekskill School District, Dr. David Mauricio, who is the superintendent of the Peekskill City School District, Ms. Tuesday McDonald, director of Peekskill Youth Bureau, Ms. Jessica Youngblood, who is our Peekskill City planner, Ms. Valerie Eaton, who is the president of the Peekskill NAACP, and Mr. David Rambo, who is our superintendent of public works. So we have a great group of people, a loaded agenda, and I'm really excited to get into it, but I'll pass it over to Mayor Rainey, who will open us up with some welcoming remarks. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Vanessa. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. Some of you I haven't seen since the pandemic began, so it's really, really good to see your faces smiling so early in the morning. Thank you all for being on this call. I just want to say that these stakeholder calls have been very informative and productive, and I'm very thankful to receive some of the information that you have all been sharing. For those of you that have been on the calls prior to today, to all of the people that are new today, thank you again for taking time out of your mornings to share some light on what's going on and how you're coping with this pandemic. I also just want to remind people, the city manager and myself also host our weekly updates on Tuesdays, and there's a few other weekly calls that we're involved in, and a lot of the information that we're getting from the county, from the Department of Health, from the state, as well as other town supervisors and mayors, we're updating and compiling it and putting all of the information on our city website. So please, if you get an opportunity, if you want to know what the city is doing specifically and how we're addressing the needs during this pandemic, go to the cityofpeekskill.com, the cityofpeekskill.com website, as well as the city Facebook page for those of you who are active on social media, and also the government channel for those of you who don't utilize either or. Other than that, I thank you, and I look forward to hearing what you all are going to share with us today. And it's been a challenging couple of months, but we've definitely been doing the best we can as a unified community. So again, this is great to see you all here, and I do look forward to hearing what you all are going to share. So thank you so much, and thanks for those tuning in.
Thank you so much, Mayor Rainey, for you for joining us every week. We really appreciate that as well. Just a reminder again, if you're tuning in on Facebook, please make sure to share these videos. Again, we want to maximize the reach, and we can't do it without your help, so appreciate any way in which we can continue to share this information. But first up on our agenda, we have Reverend Phillips from HRH Care.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's certainly a pleasure to be here and to share what information that we can with our community. Regarding funding, which is always a key piece to share, we're certainly looking forward to what's been being presented by the House of Representatives through Nancy Pelosi. This another part of the CARES Act. I think that one of these is named the HEROES, and certainly a large amount of the stimulus that will include community health centers. And so anytime you see any of the notes or letters that will come up, please support our community health centers. And then the other piece is that the other hat that I wear is executive director of the Preservation Company. It's a housing company that's been in Peekskill over the last 30 years. And right now we've been working with the Rotary and Chappie from Manzer's landscaping company, as they've been providing meals every Friday for various groups in the community. So every other Friday for River Point at Drum Hill, it's a senior housing complex with 43 units. We've been able to share with them 40 meals. And then with the Preservation Company properties, we have 10 families, and we've been able to provide food for those 10 families. So that's just another piece in terms of how we've been able to come together as a community and help the seniors and other families with giving the additional food that's really very key in this time when some have sought unemployment and have not received those funds yet. So every little bit that we can do that will help. So I believe Ben is on the line, and I'll turn it over to Ben. Do you see him, Vanessa?
I do. Mr. Bolton, are you still on the line? Let me see if I can.
Hi.
There we go.
About that. Well, thank you, Reverend Phillips, and thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilperson, and of course, Andy, for giving us this opportunity. We're beginning to see some changes. As you know, May 15th is the end of the official pause in New York State, but it's important to realize that that is regional. And we're going to start seeing some lifting in some of the northern regions. Our region, the Mid-Hudson region, is still on pause. There are 4 out of 7 criteria that we've met to come off pause. Those include hospitalization rates, new cases, and some other things. So there's still going to be some time where we remain on pause. And again, the most effective thing that we can do is maintain isolation, maintain wearing masks, and practicing good hygiene. In Peekskill, there have been a total of 825 cases reported, 141 remain active. That's about 3% of the population. Hudson River Healthcare network-wide, where we serve about 200,000 patients, we've conducted almost 10,000 tests. In Peekskill, we've tested about 550 people, and of those, about 220 have come back positive. One of the encouraging things that we'll see is, if you remember, and those of you who are on the calls in the beginning, we were seeing a hospitalization rate of about 14%. That's now down to about 2%. Westchester County is improving on its fatality rates. New York State overall has a rate of about 8%, and in Westchester, we're down to about 4%. So we are seeing the effects of isolation really working by keeping people safe and away from the viruses. Hudson River we're certainly continuing our televideo presence and telemedicine presence, where we can conduct a great deal of typical encounters, including behavioral health encounters, and we encourage people to go to the Hudson River site if they're seeking any kind of primary care needs. And as the pause, particularly for health centers, will probably come off a little bit earlier, we are going to be reconfiguring our facilities to allow safe in-person encounters for those things that can't be managed over televideo or telepresence. The only other thing that I will bring up that may be of interest to people is part of coming off pause is something called contact tracing. And this is an initiative that's being directed out of New York State Department of Health, and this is critical for coming off a pause. It identifies everyone who is tested and everyone who is that person would come in contact with, and it creates a very large database where privacy concerns are managed, but it allows us to identify and cluster how the disease is spreading and can be managed. And there are actually, if you go to the New York State website, they are recruiting contact tracers. The qualifications are there. It's work that can be done from home. It's all done through telephones and computers and things like that. But that's going to be a critical part for reopening. And we basically need about 30 contact tracers for every 100,000 people. So there are about 6,000 are going to be needed statewide, and that's not including New York City. If there are any questions, we'd certainly be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you so much, Reverend Phillips and Ben Bolton. And I'm really glad to hear that our hospitalization rate has greatly decreased since the start of this. So that there's that at least. Andy, do we have any questions from folks on the call? Oh, you're muted.
People watching the live. Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, I just
Sorry,
I just unmuted you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. There's about 15 people, 16 watching. Nobody's piped in with any questions yet on Facebook Live. I will note that the last number of meetings that we've held, and there have been between 1,500 and 2,500 people who've watched them ultimately or clicked on them. So the videos are getting seen and appreciated out in the community. And usually before we get to the end of the meeting, people start jumping on with some questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Andy, for managing that part. Well, if there are no other questions for either Reverend Phillips or Ben Bolton, then we'll go ahead and move forward. Thank you both again for being on the call. The information you provide is extremely important and really, I think, a pillar of why we started these calls in the first place, is to kind of continue to spread this information, the factual information and the numbers that folks in the healthcare provider side are seeing in our community. So we really appreciate all you do and for being on these calls and for continuing with all the work you're doing at HRH Care to keep our communities healthy and safe. So thank you so much.
Good. Thank you.
Next, we have Maria Pereira from the Peekskill City School Board. Thank you, Maria, so much for joining us.
Thank you. So on behalf of my colleagues on the board and Dr. Mauricio, want to thank you, Councilperson Vanessa Gudela, for inviting me and Dr. Mauricio. Want to give a shout out to our students in our district, our district leaders, teachers, staff, for staying connected and giving your best during this crisis situation that we're going through. What are we doing on the board? We do hold virtual board meetings along with Dr. Mauricio. Recently, we've had car parades. It's something that the community needed, our district needed. And it was a very successful parade. The weather cooperated. It was a beautiful day. I know that Dr. Mauricio can talk more on this later. Something else, our teachers. I want to give a shout out to our first responders. But having said that, sometimes our teachers have acted as first responders to our children. So I want to thank them. What is the board doing? We are attending webinars during this time. along with the virtual board meetings that we're holding. And one of the recent webinar earlier this week that I had attended was titled Leading with Emotional Intelligence in Uncertain Times. This was held with New York State Insurance Reciprocal and with collaboration of the New York State School Board. And they spoke about several topics, and one of the topics that they spoke about was leaders serving as role models. And I know on this call, we have several leaders. We have several leaders in the community. And what they spoke about is how does one bring your best self in serving as a role model to your team or to the community. I know we have, our leaders, our board members who wear several hats. We have PTO leaders on the PTO. We have the Peekskill Education Foundation that I had a privilege of serving many moons ago. We have Ms. Tuesday McDonald on the Youth Bureau that is on this call as well. We have the MBK leadership team that mentors our youngsters. And we're so fortunate, to have this mentorship continuing. It is so crucial now than ever for our youngsters to have the proper guidance. And therefore, to have role models is extremely essential. Another topic for discussion was mental health in America. And studies have indicated that 25% of children have school adjustment problems. And the scary part of this was up to 60% is in the disadvantaged areas. I know I talk about leadership, but we really do have great leadership in Dr. Mauricio and his team leaders. I know for a fact that because of the leadership that we have in place, our district is in a much better place. Otherwise, we would be singing a different tune during this crisis situation. Have to applaud our leaders in the district. Have to applaud Robin Zimmerman for the free meal program, which is so crucial. And we have a lot of families in our district that have lost their jobs, sometimes one, but what's devastating is sometimes both the parents have lost jobs. And so this meal program has come more than handy for our children in the district. Are we doing, can we do better than what we're doing amidst this crisis? The answer is yes. But are we doing everything that we possibly can do? And are we exhausting all the possible resources? And the answer to that is yes as well. We might not have a lot of funding to do everything that we want to do, but surely we're doing more with less. We need the support of our community members. We need the support of our community. And as the saying goes, it definitely takes a village to raise a child. So with that, I'm going to request Dr. Mauricio to jump in and add anything else that I may have missed, or anything else that he wants to add to it. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pereira. Great update, and I want to thank the full board in support of your leadership, as well as President. They've been doing a phenomenal job helping us really lead through this scenario we're in. Just a few updates. Mrs. Pereira spoke about the parade. I want to say a big thank you to Mayor Rainey, City Manager Andy Stewart, and also a huge thank you to our Police Chief Halmy and all of his police officers. They were amazing. Every time you turned around, they were moving from spot to spot throughout the city, and we went all throughout the city, and they were just amazing in clearing that pathway for us. Very safe parade. As you know, we had kids and parents all lined up on this in front of their homes, and so it was a wonderful parade. We have a very exciting video coming out, and we'll share that with City Manager to share it out on Facebook. Just saw it this morning, and that's going to come out about the parade. So a big thank you to everyone, and that was a tribute to all of our staff, principals, teachers, clerical, teacher aides, teacher assistants, everyone. So a big thank you. Second thing I wanted to share, touch upon an item that President Pereira spoke about. Today at Hillcrest at 3 p.m., we will continue our food distribution program, and that is courtesy of Feeding Westchester, and that's today at 3 p.m. at Hillcrest Elementary School, and that's a continuation of what they do throughout the year. The next thing I want to share, if you have a child that's a senior, log in this Tuesday, upcoming Tuesday at 7 p.m. On our district website. We're going to give an update of what we're doing for our seniors. That includes congratulating them. Soon in the community, you'll be seeing a variety of ways that we're acknowledging our class of 2020. And so make sure you tune in and bring your senior student with you to that board meeting, 7 p.m. on Tuesday. And we're going to give an update at that time. Would also like to share, transition is a very stressful, I've heard from the PTO and some parents, as a district, kids move every 2 years generally until they get to middle and high school. And so that can be a stressful time for our families. And I want to acknowledge that anxiety that kids and parents have about that transition, whether you're going from Uriah to Woodside to Oakside to Hillcrest, and so forth and so on. Do want to share with you that we'll be providing an update, and the principals will be having a town hall meeting with parents who are coming to their school next year. And we'll do that this year in the month of June virtually, and then we'll do it again August in live if we're allowed to. So want to share that with our families as well. Stay tuned for more information on that. And then instructional packets for elementary, those who want those instructional packets, they're available today, tomorrow, and Tuesday from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 at Oakside and the high school. And so please avail yourself to those packets if that's something that you're interested in. I know that we use it for our daughter, and so we'll be going to pick up one later today as well. And then lastly, I see Mrs. Youngblood on the call from the city, and she works with Laura Belfiore. The census is so important now more than ever. So we've got to spread the word. Everybody's got to get counted. I know it's not high priority right now on the list of everything that everyone has to do, but it is a high priority for the city, for the district, and for the whole community. So please log in, get counted for the census. And I will end there. Thank you so much for all of your support. Very excited to continue. And as President Pereira said, we're not a perfect system, but we are a system that is continually evolving to become perfect as best we can for our kids. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, President Pereira and Dr. David Mauricio. Thank you again for joining us and for giving us that update from the school district. We very much appreciate it, and we really appreciate all the hard work they're doing for our children, for our youth, and really to uplift your staff. That's incredibly important. I know I really enjoyed being, walking right down the street from my house and being able to enjoy that. I saw families who literally had driven because they knew where the route was, drove to a nearby neighborhood location, parked their car with signs and their kids, and they were really excited to see that parade too. So thank you for lifting up our spirits as a community. I know we all really appreciated that, and that's truly important. Andy, do we have any questions for Dr. Mauricio or from President Pereira?
Actually, I don't have a school one, but I do have one going back, I see a screen
Yeah, it
sharing.
looks like, Ms. McDonald, it looks like you're sharing your screen. Do you mind? Let's see. I don't know if I can. There we go.
I'm just wondering if there's a question here. It's interesting. It's by somebody named Redfield, and it says it's really for HRH, and it's about the role of testing COVID, or antibodies in employee return to work, and how organizations, maybe you could just speak to your own organizations. Perhaps the school district has perspective on this as well. In terms of employee management, out sick, not out sick, in the kind of the role of testing for the virus in that decision making. I know HRH, maybe you have a comment about that, and the school district obviously has a lot of employees. Perhaps you guys have given some thought to that matter as well.
Yes, we do. And Ben, you may have those particular steps that we do in terms of the monitoring of our staff.
Sure. Hi. Sorry about that. Yeah, so antibody testing is becoming sort of the hot button item. There's a lot of complexity to it to understand, starting from the accuracy of the test and the type of test. Right now, the only thing that antibody testing has any validity for is to determine if people have an antibody that would be useful if they were to be donating plasma. Where there are some studies underway to find out if plasma can be used to help people who have the virus present. There are no indicators that having the antibody gives you immunity. It is very clear guidance out there that it should not be used as a return to work indicator. It's a developing technology, and it's relying very heavily on the building of statistical models, and the information really isn't there yet to draw any conclusions from it other than one of many criteria using for screening for plasma donation. So, in direct answer to the question around return to work, it certainly does not have a role in that decision process.
What about the COVID testing specifically?
So there are different kinds of tests available out there. There's the swab that most people have been receiving, where it's a swab is inserted in the nose and it takes a sample. That's what's called a reverse PCR test, and it basically takes the DNA or the RNA of the virus, converts it to DNA, and identifies that the virus is present. And that's the testing that the numbers that I gave earlier reflect. What that indicates, or what that describes, and there are error rates in that as well, but it describes that the virus is present in an individual. The antibody test is a blood test, and what that identifies is that someone has developed an antibody that is addressing the presence of the virus. It's two very different things. But again, neither test is really a indicator around return to work policy.
And the other piece that I would just add to that, because as we listen on our TVs, we hear so much information coming, and sometime within the same day, it's a yes and then it's a no, and it's a yes and then it's a no. And the fact that if we just continue with our basic pieces in terms of the social distancing, the hand washing, and keeping all surfaces clean, all of those basic things will just help us as we continue to go forward during this pandemic period.
And one thing that I would bring up, because it does relate to return to work, is what many business groups and business organizations are pressing their legislatures for is to work on encouraging OSHA to develop specific return to work guidelines for businesses and for offices so that there's a sense of what the standard of care needs to be. There's a lot of recommendation out there right now from CDC and from non-governmental agencies about how to approach a safe return to work environment, but businesses are obviously looking for formal guidance to ensure that we're complying with whatever the best safe practices are. So in encouraging legislatures to work with the OSHA to develop those and to release those standards would be a critical role that people can play.
Mr. Stewart, on behalf of the school district, what Mr. Bolton and Reverend Phillips shared is exactly the reality for us, is that we will not make a decision without two factors. Number one, a governor's executive order allowing us to open our schools back up. And then secondly, we would be driven by the medical professionals, CDC, state and county health department, and then also our contracted physician as well, because many of us have doctorates, they're not in medical, they're not medical doctorates. And so we are going to rely on the medical professionals to tell us proper practices, when to reopen. And I think it would be wise for families to understand that summer school programming may or may not be a reality. We're hoping that it can be. We'll be meeting with Mrs. McDonald and another team per her request regarding summer. And then September, some of you may have seen that California State University system has already gone to an all virtual programming in this fall, and I think other colleges will follow suit. For us as a school district, we are creating plans A, to re-enter in September, and plans B, to be in a virtual environment if we are directed to do so by the governor. So a lot of planning going on our end, and again, we will follow the direction of the medical professionals and the governor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben Bolton and Dr. Mauricio, for that. Andy, do we have any other questions?
I think that's good for now. Hold on one second. Yeah, no, let me hold off a little bit. There's maybe some more material related to return to work, but I want your panelists to be able to move ahead.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so next up we have Ms. Tuesday McDonald from the Peekskill Youth Bureau.
Thank you so much, Councilperson Agndello, for the opportunity. I am going to share my screen now. Just give you all some updates. So just want to share some things with you about just helping youth and parents during COVID-19. All the experts all agree that setting and sticking to a regular schedule is key. Be creative about your activities and your exercise. The internet is full of recommendations. Dr. Marisa talked about this earlier as well, just kind of like managing that anxiety. Let's try not to pass it on to our youth. Stay in touch virtually, allow you to FaceTime, Zoom, Skype friends, keep it positive. Youth are dealing with enough. Stay connected to the CDC website, but another website that is really helpful for youth and kids is kidshealth.org. Status of youth programming at the Youth Bureau. We talked about this before, but I'll make sure that everyone is aware. Fitness with Jerry happens daily. This is the opportunity for our youth to be physically active. During COVID, Boredom Busters is an opportunity for youth and parents to come together on Fridays. And then a wrap up. Our parents, I'm a parent, like we're struggling, these are unprecedented times for all of us. So certainly, take the opportunity to be a part of these virtual programmings for our youth and parents. Elevate, this is our program for our teens, for high school students. We have 2 virtual programming going on for them. So please take advantage of these opportunities to keep our youth going. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Go to the next slide. So we also have programming for our 16 to 24-year-old youth who have dropped out of school. If anyone wants their youth or they want to be a part of GED task training, we also provide virtual financial literacy course as well. If you want more information on that, feel free to reach out to Emily Bender, who's a coordinator for this program, and she can be reached at ebender, BNDER, at cityofpeekskill.com. Or if you want to speak to someone, feel free to call me at 914-734-4149. Again, we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what the governor, is going to say about any summer programming, but we know that we have to be ready for it if it does happen. Again, we have Advancing Lift, which is our youth program for the summer that we've had for many years at the Youth Bureau. We normally have about 75 youth. May not happen like that, for this summer, but, as I said before, we don't know, so we're certainly getting ready for it, just in case we are able to have some summer programming with some social distancing. Summer camp plans. So right now what we're doing is we're working on 2 plans, as everyone else is as well. The plan 1, social distancing, summer camp, we're able to do that. As Dr. Mauricio also said earlier, we have a meeting planned for next Tuesday with Youth Bureau, Parks and Rec, the library, and of course the school district to try to come up with some creative programming for our youth, if we are able to come together for the summer in a social distancing summer camp. And then plan 2 for the Youth Bureau is a virtual summer camp. What we're doing right now, we're working with our partners that provide enrichment to see if they're comfortable with providing some virtual programming during the summertime. Peekskill agencies together. Again, PAT is a community coalition that aims to reduce youth substance abuse. PAT collaborates with agencies, organizations, schools, businesses, and we understand that prevention work extends beyond simply telling our youth to stay away from drugs. It really does take a village. Our next virtual meeting is Wednesday, May 20th at 2:30 p.m. Please contact me again so that I can provide you with the Zoom information. Someone had asked earlier about some of the partners that are providing virtual programming. They're really a vast, and I'm probably doing a really disservice by not including everybody, but certainly those who have sent me information to forward out to the PAC coalition, Husband of the Healthcare, Just the Plays, Girls Inc., Be First Boxing, New Era Creative Space, Phil Library, Fidelis Care, School District, Student Assistance Services, New York Presbyterian, and the list goes on. So if anyone certainly wants to know about other agencies in town, that are providing virtual programming and services during COVID, please feel free to give me a call at the Youth Bureau, 914-734-4149. And then Healing Forward. So we talked about this as well. So Healing Forward was something that we felt that we needed to start right after, one of our students was fatally stabbed and killed. And we actually had that virtual town hall. And after the town hall, we've had subsequent healing forward meetings. Dr. Mauricio with Mayor Rainey, the principal, and kind of like the person that we really wanted to really reach out to was Pat White, who was from Food and Citizen Services. And she's just been like a breath of fresh air. And then what we did was we just had a special meeting last week with Dr. Joy DeRoy. She's a nationally and internationally renowned researcher and educator. Her work focuses on racism, trauma, and violence. We're working with her right now to have our first Healing Forward Town Hall set for June. More to come on that. And as the spring weather is upon us, please, young people, parents, Peekskill community, we must wear our masks, we must stay 6 feet apart. Thank you again for the opportunity to share some updates on the Youth Bureau.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tuesday McDonald, for that really awesome presentation. We really appreciate the intentionality and the thoughtfulness you put into and finding creative ways to provide programming for our youth during this really difficult time. So we really appreciate your leadership in that regard. Do we have any questions from folks on the call for Ms. Tuesday McDonald or from folks online?
Thank you. I don't see any for Tuesday right now. Just a note, Councilman Fernandez has joined the live feed as well.
Hello, Councilman Fernandez. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're sharing the video as well.
He did have a question for the school district, which was his daughter, I guess, got a message. It says, please be advised that Phase 3 instructional packets will be available today, May 14th, at Uriah Hill between 9:30 and 12:30. And then he says, but I heard that it will be available to pick up at Oakside School and PHS also. Can you clarify? Sorry if that's too in the weeds.
Yes. So I will. I'll update it before the end of this call. I just want to make sure we have normally been giving them out at Oakside and the high school. So I will, before we end this call, I'll make sure I have that update for you.
Got it. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you so much. So next up, we have our Peekskill City Planner, Jessica Youngblood, who will be talking to us about the census. Thank you, Jessica, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Councilperson Agadella, and good morning to everyone on the call and those in the community who are watching.
Being handed out at Oakside and the high school, or just Uriah?
No, we moved everything to Uriah.
Sorry about that. I don't think he meant to do that.
Okay. So again, hi and good morning again. Thank you so much, Councilperson Agadella, for organizing this, and good morning to everyone on the call. Good morning to everyone who is listening in from the community. And thank you for allowing me a few minutes to give you an update about Census 2020, the operations, ways to respond, and really what to expect. I also want to give a shout out to all of our community partners, especially the school district, the field library, HRH Care, Westchester County, the Peekskill NAACP, our Bidnard Chamber, and of course everyone else who's really pushing forward this effort for outreach on this important event, despite what's happening to our community and to those around us. First, I just want to give some good news. Peekskill started at a response rate of about 16.8%. We are now over 53%, so we are seeing a steady increase. We would still like to continue to see those numbers go up. We're hoping for 100% count at the end of the day. As Dr. Mauricio mentioned before, having an accurate count helps with funding. It really helps with getting those resources to the city, to our school, to our first responders, as well as to our nonprofit organizations. There have been some changes that have come out of the Census Bureau in terms of the delays based on COVID. The first thing to point out is that the count has actually been extended through October 31st of this year. So that gives the city and its partners additional time to help increase our response rate Once we are able to come back together, hopefully we can brainstorm some additional ways that we can continue to do outreach, whether we're practicing safe social distancing or we may be able to convene in person. Would certainly look forward to being able to put together something again as we had planned for the end of March. Also, the in-person door visits essentially that a Census Bureau enumerator could provide has also been extended to June, but because Westchester County may be one of those locations that's going to see a delay, we may not see that till July or August. So for those who have not responded, folks will not be coming to kind of check in and make sure that you've responded until later summer, again, based on our state's regulations. For those who are looking to respond, it's fairly simple. I simply pulled it up on my phone real quick so you can see. While you have your smartphone in hand, it just takes a couple of minutes. There are only 9 questions. If you are looking to respond, feel free to jump onto your smartphone or your computer and go to my2020census.gov. Alternatively, if you would like to respond by phone, for the English version, you dial 1-844-330-2020. For those looking to respond in Spanish, dial 1-844-468-2020. Also, if you're looking for a paper form, those would only have come to your household if you had not responded to the first 3 notices that the Census Bureau sent out. So for everyone who has responded, thank you so much. Certainly do encourage your neighbors and friends to be able to respond and help out the community. And if you need additional information, I've put a lot of links on the city's website. You can simply find the Census Bureau icon on the city's homepage. Click on that and you'll be listed to a whole set of resources, both in English and Spanish. I've linked it to additional videos that the Census Bureau has put out in a lot of languages, actually including Portuguese and French and Russian, in case our community needs that. And if you have any questions, if you need any resources, or if you have any comments, please feel free to email me. My email address is jyoungbllood@cityofpeekskill.com. And of course, I just want to say thank you to all of our first responders. It's your efforts and your leadership that are helping us keep safe and healthy during this time. So with that, I'll close it out. And again, thank you, Councilperson Agudelo, for organizing this.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us and for providing those updates on the census. I think it's really important, like you said, that we surpass our count for 2010, which I believe was the response was a 65%. We really need to get to 100%, especially if we want to report that our city is over 25,000, which I believe it is, and I believe that actually qualifies us for a couple more $1,000 in funding. So it is so important for us to ensure that we're all being counted, to ensure that our children are being counted. Young children tend to be those who are most undercounted during the census, and please do not have any fear that this data is going to be shared with DHS. There is no citizenship question, so that is nothing that people need to worry about. It's really about ensuring that there is adequate funding for our school districts, for our first responders, our fire departments, for our community at large. So it's really our civic responsibility to fill this out, and I really appreciate all the work you've been doing to coordinate the census effort here in Peekskill. So thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you so much.
Do we have any questions from folks on the call? No? I'm sorry, Dr. Mauricio, did you want to say something?
Yes. Just wanted to correct something. Member Fernandez is correct. It is at Uriah Hill today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, 9:30 to 12:30 p.m. And that is for the elementary packets. We shifted our resources to Uriah Hill.
Got it. Thank
Thank
you
you, Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes.
All right, next up we have President of the Peekskill NAACP, Valerie Eaton.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us, Valerie.
I'm glad to be here, and thank you, Councilperson Agudelo. And I thank all of you on the call. Thank you all for your hard work in our city. We have been absolutely in awe of the way the city has come together through this whole crisis and ensure that our community is fed and kept up to date. So thank you all for that. I just want to expand on the census push because we really are trying to make sure that we get the word out as well. We joined in partnership with the Zeta Phi Beta sorority. And so we have an active campaign going out for the census and being counted and making sure that everybody knows the importance of filling out the census. In addition to that, one of the biggest things on our plate right now is that we're interviewing the CD17 candidates. We have not seen much publicly. I am one of those people who do not actively search Facebook, but other than that, we really have been sending out invitations for all of those candidates to come and talk to us. We are asking questions as it relates to each game changer in our organization. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it is civic engagement, of course, criminal justice, health, education, environmental justice, as well as missing one, education, of course. So nevertheless, we have interviewed about 5 candidates so far, with hopefully going to be able to do 2 more. We don't have a lot of their contact information, so we are keeping an eye on that. In addition to that, and I'm going to expand once again with Ms. Tuesday Page McDonald, with the Youth Bureau. We're trying to work with her as well with the programming for the youth, and hoping that we are able to see some job opportunities this summer. I know a lot of programs got cut for paid opportunities for our youth, and some families really do rely on that. So that's something that we are going to try to get very creative about, especially if we are still staying in place. The other thing we are looking at is the job opportunities for the tracers. We actually posted a lot of information on our website, and it is specific to COVID-19. We have a page dedicated to COVID-19, but on that page, we also have very specific Peekskill information. I think a lot of times, when we go to the CDC website and all that, it's very national. We got a lot of information from New York City as well, but we wanted to make sure that we got all the information that we can possibly get. So if you all have additional information that is not on our website, because we do have information as it relates to food distribution, specifically for Peekskill. And I said not necessarily for Peekskill, but in this area. I think at one time we try to have a listing of all of the testing sites as well. As that expands, I think people are becoming more and more aware of where those places are. We also want to try to understand the numbers in our school system in terms of diversity. We also so we will be reaching back out to you, Dr. Mauricio, on that. And we've discussed that before. And what we understand is that jobs have not been lost, and so we're grateful for that. Within the Peekskill City School District, I have been getting job opportunity notices from the district, but we want to, of course, widen that net, if you will. So we are looking for that as well. We, of course, continue to thrive on membership. So we really would encourage everyone to become a member. If you're not already, you can go to our website, peekskill.naacp.org. There is an area there where you can sign up to be a member. And I did want to ask, I don't know if Mayor Rainey or if you, Mrs. Stewart, have information on what the crime rates in Peekskill has been since the stay in place. I know that there's been a lot of activity as it relates to car break-ins. So I know my car got broken into. So I was just wondering if there's any stats on that. You know, there's more information that we'll need from that as well. But that is pretty much it. We just recently also, in terms of economic empowerment, we've had some series on financial series and classes on MWBE certification. So we're really looking to help our community with their own businesses and just our community as a whole, and make sure that they have the resources they need in order to be financially stable and more. So that's about it.
Thank you, Ms. Eaton. If anything, we get a monthly report from the police department as far as different criminal activity in the city of Peekskill. So once I get that updated report, I'll definitely share with you. I couldn't give you the numbers offhand right now, but I can certainly retrieve that later.
Great, thank you.
I can respond briefly to the question that Ms. Eaton had about the crime as well, because I was talking with the police chief about it the day before yesterday. I think overall, with the coronavirus, and despite some absolutely horrific incidents that we all know about, people have been staying home. The crime rate has decreased a little bit. Knock on wood. The larcenies, which covers the car break-ins, at this point is roughly equal to what it was at this time last year. And it's something that we're both keeping an eye on because there have been reports. And so we're going to keep an eye on that and try to break out the data more around cars versus other larcenies so that we can have more specific information. But overall, larcenies is roughly where it was last year at the same time.
Thank you.
I hope that's helpful.
It is. Thank you.
I mean, just as a public service announcement, in many cases, unfortunately, people make it easy for criminals by leaving their cars unlocked. And I know I do it, other people do it. It's a good thing just to remind each other about that and promote that, because believe it or not, there's a fair amount of that. And of course that just makes it a little too easy too. So that's a good message to put out on the communications channels as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Eaton. And I also, I really appreciate your remarks and covering kind of the different things your committees are working on. I know I've spoken to, I was just actually speaking to Andy about this last week about ways in which we can start to make, some of the statistics coming out of our police department public to add more transparency, ways in which we can start doing that. And I know that's something we're starting to think about. And obviously there's other priorities on our list, but it is something that we know is important and we do want to start to prioritize in the near future. So we appreciate you raising that concern. Do we have any questions from folks on the phone for President Eaton? No? Alrighty. Well, so last but not least, we have our Superintendent of Public Works, David Rambo. Dave, thank you so much for being on the call and thank you for sticking it out. Do we still have you? Oh, let me.
Yes, and good morning all, and thank you for including the Department of Public Works on this call and the Facebook posting. First off, I just want to take the opportunity to say how proud I am of the DPW team. There's many individuals that are working together to see that city services are maintained throughout this crisis. As you hear reports on the TV and the radio, they talk about the first line of essential services of fire departments and police departments, and their work is extremely important in what they do. But I also want to mention the essential services that are provided by the city service staff. Not unlike any of the other essential workers, these guys are scared, and rightfully so. There's many unknowns out there. But to continue, they continue to pick up garbage, recycling, and bulk trash. We provide water and sewer services to all the city residents. So I just want to say that at the end of the day, when your garbage can is empty, you turn on the faucet and water comes flowing out, and you flush your toilet at the end. When you flush your toilet, just think about the personnel that are behind these services. So with that, I want to say that it's extremely important for myself and the city administration that we keep these guys safe. We've implemented at least twice a day vehicle sanitizing. So in the morning when they get in their vehicles, it's sanitized. At the end of the day, it's sanitized again. All the city staff has proper PPE equipment to wear, and we are practicing social distancing. That's a normal protocol. So in addition to these services that I mentioned, we continue to start painting crosswalks. The weather has changed. We're painting crosswalks. That's a safety item. There's a lot of folks out there walking through the city. We're filling potholes. Winter was a tough winter, and we continue to have potholes that have to be repaired. Trimming and cutting of hazardous trees. We just completed or about to complete hydrant flushing, fire hydrant flushing. And we do assist on a regular basis with the food distribution that's happening throughout the city. Another thing that we're also doing is the daily sweeping of litter. So you'll see the sweeper vehicle that's out there. And we are also we have enhanced all the cleaning of the city buildings, and that's going to continue to develop. And we want to make sure it's clean for the workers that do end up coming into the city buildings. So as far as public support, one of the things, if I can ask, that the Saturday drop-off is a service that we're continuing to have. With City Hall being closed, you do need to have a drop-off card. So what we talked about is we've been getting calls in for people, and you can mail a check in, a $25 check for the drop-off card. We have started selling them down at the recycling or at the DPW yard, and we thought also tomorrow between 9 and 12, folks want to come to City Hall, we wait outside. There is a doorbell. We can do a transaction at that location. So $25 for a drop-off card, and we want to continue that service. In addition, litter collection, as I mentioned, the sweeper does go out, and what he is finding is a lot of gloves and masks that are out there. So we just asked if people could, find the pitching cans that we have on the sidewalks and use those, so we can, because if they can't, and there are a lot of vehicles out there, so with folks being home, it's difficult for that sweeper to get to the curb. So, some streets are just unpassable for the litter collection and the sweeper. And lastly, I just want to say proper disposal of your sharps and medical waste. As I mentioned, these guys are scared. They don't want to even see, some type of medical waste that's in there. It should all be wrapped up and completely put away and disposed of properly. So that's all I have. I just, again, want to say thank you for the opportunity and share with you what the city service departments are doing. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Dave, for your leadership and for everything you've done to help keep our DPW staff safe and healthy. I know that it's been a huge undertaking. These are our essential workers here at the City of Peekskill, right, who haven't stopped working. So we really appreciate your leadership and how you've been able to formulate a plan to really prioritize the health and well-being of our employees and of the community at large. So we really appreciate that. Do we have any questions from folks on the phone?
Yes, Councilperson Agudelo, this is Maria Pereira. Just have a question for Valerie Eaton regarding job opportunities for our youngsters. if this COVID crisis continues, I was wondering if perhaps there may be a way that our youngsters may have an opportunity to perform, job duties like online, making phone calls, computer-based, work from home. Of course, they would need a computer. But I was just wondering if these are some of the things that Miss Eaton is considering. I know she was talking about creative ways of going about it. So I just wanted to find out if this is something that could be feasible.
Well, let me just say that our chair of our education committee, Megan Kelly, I think you know her, she, along with our youth chair and co-chair is on Foxhall, and Nat Lejay Wilson, along with Ms. Tuesday Page McDonald of the Youth Bureau. They will collaborate on that. I don't want to get into the specifics of what the creativity is going to be or they're talking about right now, because I don't think anything has been set in stone yet. And I also don't know what the summer looks like. So I think that they're planning for the eventuality of there still being the stay in place rule, as well as, social distancing and all of that. So yes, I'm sure it will include some, virtual work that they may be able to do. So yes, but thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for anyone on the call, for Dave Rambo?
We actually have a question related to just the public trash cans and their status, if there are plans to add or change that in any way.
I'm sorry, Andy, I didn't hear the whole question.
It's a question related to the public trash cans and their status, if there are needs for more, for fewer, or any changes related to the trash cans.
No, we are not looking to implement any changes. Everything is going to be status quo. If there's an addition or additional material that they need to dispose of, they can bring it down to the DPW yard on the Saturday drop-off between 9 and 12.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. And again, I just want to highlight something that Dave Rambo said, that we can all do as a community to continue to help our DPW staff, especially our sanitation workers, and that's ensuring that when we're disposing of, I believe what he called medical waste, that we're keeping that in a bag or wrapping that up so our sanitation workers don't have to be at risk of infecting themselves potentially from picking that stuff up, and of course there's fear, and we want to ensure that we're taking as much precaution as possible to keep each other safe, to keep ourselves safe. So these are kind of little things that we can do, not throwing our gloves on the floor so folks need to pick it up. I mean, these are just little things that we can all chip in and do, and ensure that we're taking responsibility of, so that burden doesn't need to be put on our wonderful essential workers who are employed by the city, employed by our tax dollars, to ensure that, again, we're keeping them safe, and we're really streamlining the amount of work that needs to be done, and not putting any additional burden on folks who are already working hard as it is. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to pass it over to Mayor Rainey, who will close us out.
All right, so I just want to say once again, thank you all for all of the information you've provided. This video, for those who are on social media, continue to share. It will be on social media as well as our government channel for those of you who know people who may not be able to watch this. Thank you all for all of the work that you're doing to make this community as safe as possible. I just want to leave with the message that I always leave with. One of the most effective ways that we can continue to fight this spread is by social distancing. I know David Rambo mentioned it. I think pretty much everybody on the line mentions it. please continue to share that message and clean up the litter. We spoke about that last week and the week before as well with the HCare meeting that we had with them, the informal meeting, just reminding people that during this crisis, I think a quote that I saw on social media from, I think it was Ocean Morris, said, you know, these are the times that define who we are when we get them challenges like this. And we're not a community that just comes together and just destroys it at the same time with littering and careless actions. So please be mindful of your litter. That is your way of playing your part to continue to keep our city clean and safe. And again, thank you all for joining this call. I know you all have a lot more stuff to do today and as the next few weeks remain. So I appreciate you taking time out of your days to be here. I'm here with my boss right now, and we're going to continue the rest of our day. So God bless you all. And again, thanks for tuning in. And we will continue to share this information on social media, our city website, as well as our government channel. Everyone out there, be safe and continue to practice social distancing. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Rainey. And thank you all so much for joining us. And I hope everyone has a wonderful Thursday.
Okay.